Hey everyone, welcome to the Wild and Uncut podcast, brought to you by Ruger. I'm your host, Kristy Titus. Thank you for tuning in. The line is going hot, so let's go full send on this episode. In a world where rugged and reliable matters, Ruger stands strong. Celebrating 75 years of American-made craftsmanship, Ruger continues to set the standard for excellence in firearms. From the iconic 1022 to the American rifle and beyond, each firearm embodies precision engineering and our deep-rooted traditions. Join us in honoring a legacy built on strength, innovation, and the American spirit. Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Wild and Uncut podcast. I am here at my home gym, Forge Fitness, here in Sheridan, Wyoming with my friend Kristen Retterath. And your social handle is Gathering Health.
Yes.
And it's kind of interesting, like when I moved here to Sheridan, we actually had never met. And I'm like in Big R one day and we like met each other, and it's so kind of creepy because social media, you feel like you know people and you actually don't.
I know.
And you're like, hey, I know you from social media.
Yeah, well, and I think you had talked to Brady probably more than we had conversed, but even now, like, we've known each other for a long time via social media, and now we live in the same town, and we moved here like
3 years ago.
And within like 2 weeks of each other, it was like, wait a second, you're on the trails. Those are right in town. We just walked on those the other day when we were visiting, and then I saw you in town, and I'm like, I have to say something. So
well, and like, okay, so flash forward 3 years. This is the first time we've actually connected.
I know, other than like hi in the gym, seeing
literally,
each other.
Yeah. So we have the same home gym, which is really great, and that's why we're here. Also, it's good. Sure. And I wanted to introduce you to my viewers and listeners because you have such a great story. And with that, I'll let you kind of give everybody a little background information on what you do and how you help people, and
for sure,
then we'll go from there.
So flash forward or flashback, I guess. I didn't grow up hunting, doing anything like that. I was an athlete. I primarily played volleyball most of my life, and that was kind of where all of my time and energy went into. I spent a lot of time in the gym and training and just lifting and doing all of those things. And when I met Brady, it was like a weird world that was open to me. I had never shot a gun, I hadn't shot a bow, I hadn't done any of those things, and that was his entire life, right? And so I had just finished playing college volleyball, and I was kind of at that point in my life where I was like kind of bored, needing a new challenge, and within 2 weeks of us dating, he's like, let's go to Sportsman's Warehouse. And so he took me to Sportsman's Warehouse.
That was their hot date for Saturday night.
Bought me a bow and all of this camo.
Oh, no, he didn't.
And he did within 2 weeks. And the funny thing is like at that time, there was no women's line or any cute camos. It was me getting into like this big old men's, fluffy bibs. We lived in North Dakota. And so that was the kind of like the start of hunting for me and the start of shooting and all of that kind of stuff, all because of him. But then after I started having kids, I was diagnosed with some food intolerances and celiac and just a lot of gut stuff. My hormones went haywire. And before I knew it, I was having a really hard time eating anything. And so it transitioned more into, okay, well, it was really easy for me to consume wild game because it was lean, because it was natural. My body really liked it. And so I started diving down this path of like paleo and eating whole real foods and wild game and trying to heal my system and figure out how to feel good while doing that with, you know, the food that we were hunting and gathering. So that's kind of where Gathering Health came from, was me documenting kind of my story and how I was able to, I guess, fix a lot of my issues and live in a way that I feel good without all the extra junk, and help other people do the same. So now I just get to help primarily moms who are not knowing how to kind of clean up their diet and live and eat in a more natural way. And I seem to attract hunters' wives and, you know, those types of people who have access to wild game but don't know how to prepare it or how to make it taste good or really how to just simplify your plate a little bit so that you feel good, you know what you're eating. And then of course there's the whole macros and the tracking piece of it and knowing how much to eat and all of that.
And when and all of that,
Yeah, and as we age and we're, you know, trying to have different goals, whether it's losing weight post-pregnancy or, you know, being my age and wanting to maintain muscle mass after having kids and still stay in good shape, you know, how much protein do you need? How, you know, there's so much out there in regards to like just women needing to be skinny versus strong and not enough education on what foods we actually need to eat in order to maintain our muscle mass, but also for just longevity purposes as well.
And there's so much of that I think this locavore and also just people being more aware of the chemicals that are added to food. Like there's all these new dyes that people are now like realizing they're really toxic for us. And you didn't even think about that, you know, before, like we were, you just eat cereal or you eat this or whatever, and how like kind of backwards the food pyramid really is. But did you deal with food intolerance your whole life and you just didn't realize how bad you felt?
Well, it's interesting because when I look back, so I've always had a lot of health stuff and I've never had the ability to, I guess, take my health for granted because I've never been really truly super healthy. So when I was born with an aortic stenosis and a hole in my heart. And so still to this day, my aorta is too small. It's why my resting heart rate's high. It's why cardio is incredibly difficult. It's why hiking is incredibly difficult. I've been in cardiac care since I was born. So outside of that, then I developed like severe migraines as a teenager. I broke my leg. I blew both my ACLs. Like I had chronic inflammation and had no idea why. And at that point, there was, strep throat, constant, mono, like you name it, I had it growing up. And there was never once where people were like, oh, maybe it's her food, right? And so I knew I was allergic to red food coloring. I still to this day, if I eat Twizzlers or anything like that, it's full hives all over. My system goes into complete shock.
That is so sad because Twizzlers,
they're
the
so
cherry
good.
version,
I know.
So amazing.
I know, they're so good.
I love them. Okay.
I know.
Sidebar, sorry about that.
They're so good. There's so much candy that has really good flavor. But no, I can't have any of it. And like looking back, some of the things that I was allergic to, like I was eating sub sandwiches and, corn, a can of corn. I grew up in North Dakota. So like a can of corn and potatoes and meat and hot dishes, they were like all we ate growing up. And the food that I was eating was literally all of the things that I cannot eat now. And so at 26, after having a baby and my system going completely haywire, it
became more acute.
Yeah, all of a sudden it was like, what's going on? And so I had all this testing done, got the laundry list of all the things, that I'm not supposed to have. And then, you start thinking back, like, did all of those come from this? Because now if I eat those things, my joints hurt, right? My back hurts, all the things that I feel like maybe could have prevented some of that. So now I have a daughter that has the same red food coloring allergy and has issues with gluten. We know that, we are not giving her those things on a regular basis just because I know better than, I think my parents knew before, but there also just wasn't the awareness of it.
Well, it's that boiling frog thing too. So, when you put a frog in cold water and slowly cook it, it doesn't jump out. But if you put it in boiling water, it jumps out. When you feel bad, and you've always felt bad, you're like that slow boiling frog. Like you don't realize that you're in pain.
Right.
It just kind of creeps up on you. And I think so many people become comfortable with, they don't know what feeling good is like.
Yes.
And so they get complacent. Well, there's nothing wrong with me. I can eat like this. I can feel like this. And this is normal. It might be that normal, but there is another option or another way. And it took you, it sounds like, getting very acutely ill to find and look for the other way.
Yeah. It's the same thing. I mean, I think most of our country, honestly, if people are overweight or obese or they have chronic pain, it doesn't come on. It's usually very slow. It's like a very slow process, right? We slowly gain weight.
Oh, amen to that. I've been there.
And then you look in the mirror and you're like, how did I get this far?
You don't even recognize yourself.
No. And then it's, slow to come off also, but at the same time, I think a lot of people don't know how they should feel or how good they could feel or the addictive processes of the foods that we consume and how emotionally and mentally draining some of them can be. So when you really think about some of those things, you're like, when you get rid of them, your life just kind of changes without you even really knowing it, right? Like I didn't realize that sugar had such a profound anxiety effect on me, like just candy and processed sugars and all of those things. Like if I consume those on a regular basis, I don't feel like myself. Yeah. But most people are just walking around doing that, not realizing they could, if they cut them out, that maybe they would feel different, right?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I listened to an excerpt the other day from a physician who was fascinated at 10 a.m. that the Chick-fil-A parking lot was completely full, and he sat there for 3 hours, and the line never cleared. It was full the whole time. And he's like, what are these people putting in these chicken sandwiches? Now, I do love a Chick-fil-A sandwich. Not gonna lie, they are delicious. But they actually he shined a light on the food chemicals that they were putting in their food. So there's over 50 food chemicals that are being put inside the Chick-fil-A sandwiches. And Popeye's chicken was right there with them, I think at like 30 food chemicals. So the two of them were both extremely high. And the chemicals, the food chemicals they're putting in them have a highly addictive component to the food. And so actually Chick-fil-A has now removed their full ingredient list off their website, and you have to especially request it at the location.
What?
Because they don't want you to know how many food chemicals they're putting in. And so what they're finding in a lot of these processed restaurants, processed food chemicals, is the chemical combination that they're putting in the food creates a dopamine release in your bloodstream in your body. And so you physically become addicted to that dopamine hit of that food chemical. That is in processed foods, which is why people keep coming back for more and they just get so hooked on it. And I saw a similar version of that, like when I was doing competitive bodybuilding, when I was dieting down, as soon as I would eat, I could feel the food. The calories like fuel my body. Like you could physically feel the food function in your body. And at that point is where I really realized, wow, this is how people become slowly addicted to the dopamine, the chemical release, all of the things that are happening at the cellular level to food. And food is something that to this day, like I am super food focused and super hyper focused on food, and I will absolutely obsess over food. And it does become something that can really consume and control and take over your life in a very negative way. But these food companies aren't making it easier for us. They're making it harder for us, which is why you're talking about simplifying your plate. Can you tell me what you mean by saying simplify your plate?
Yeah, so a lot of times people don't realize, or they look at like their food as every single meal you have has to be some like elaborate dining experience, right? Like, and if you're just eating chicken and rice, for example, that's too boring, right? And I have found, similar situation. After I got done playing volleyball, I became hyper focused on food, and not in a good way. Like, I was 35 pounds less than I am now. At 6 feet tall, I was like 130 pounds. Like,
yeah, you were skin and bones.
I was skin and bones. I had lost all my muscle. I was doing only cardio. I just wanted to be the smallest human I could. And I was doing that through control of my food, right? And so I was getting the dopamine hit off of feeling empty, right? And like feeling thin, and it obviously goes the other way as well. So when you simplify and kind of remove some of that emotional piece of the food, and you're like, it's okay for this meal to have its only purpose being fueling my body.
Sure.
Right? Like, if I remove all of the dopamine hits of, possibilities for the day, and I'm eating 80% real whole foods, like fresh vegetables, all your meats, your eggs, your fruit, the things that we're designed to eat, our body stops craving all the other junk.
Yeah.
And when you have your plate set up like that, you start to remove some of like the pleasure centers that go with your food, to where you stop thinking about it so much, and you're just like, okay, I'm eating for what purpose? To fuel my body, to do the things that I need to do, not necessarily to feel pleasure all the time. Now, is food pleasureful? Yes, it is. Like, a lot of times it's always tied to an experience, right? Like, we go out and we celebrate, there's food. We have a big something happening in our life, we go and celebrate with food. Like, that is part of our culture. It is, who we are. But if we can remove some of that, so it's like, not every day do we have to feel pleasure from food, and we can do that in other ways, whether it's a dopamine hit at the gym, or it is exercising, or playing volleyball, or doing a sport that you love, or going hunting, or whatever. So your food is less bringing you pleasure, and you're finding pleasure in other things, and it's more fuel focused, because ultimately that is what its purpose is, right? And if you can kind of remove that, it makes it easier for the people who are having a hard time with that. The binge eaters, the people who have struggled with obesity their entire life, who are very food focused. And to also remove like some of that guilt that goes along with it. I work with a lot of people who have a lot of guilt over having a piece of cake on their birthday, or because they feel like a piece of cake is going to lead to a half a cake, right? And learning how to make some of those boundaries and set them up to be able to enjoy those things without guilt, and then move on.
I literally baked a pie this weekend because I was dying for a piece of pie. Well, first what happened is I had bought this tiny pecan pie from the grocery store, and I was going to eat like a couple bites of it, and then I had a bite of it, and I set it on my kitchen counter just to like have something, right? I don't want to feel food deprived. And my dog got on the counter and ate my pie. And I was like, okay, that's not fair. So then I had this Marie Callender's pie in my freezer for years. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to bake it. So I baked the pie just so I don't feel food deprived all the time. I baked it, I had a piece of the pie, and I literally brought the pie to Chancellor today, and I was like, take it. Yes. I had my piece of pie. Yep. I know my limitations. I can't have it in my house.
Yes.
And I am learning to try to balance what I want to eat versus what I should be eating and need to eat or whatever, and not be as psycho about food as I have been historically or can tend to be. And so I brought it to Chancellor, and I was like, here you go.
You have the extra calories.
The pie. I am not eating this pie. But you have to know, and it is really hard for some people, and myself included, to be like, okay, I am going to have a piece of pie one day, and then I'm going to get back on the wagon or in ice cream or whatever the thing is once, but not consume an entire bag of chips or not consume an entire bag of Red Vines licorice, or it's that overconsumption and being able to say no. But the food chemical reaction in our brain is so addicting. It's really hard to walk away from that.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen those, they're like pops, like those rice pop triangles in the stores. There's a bag of and I was watching a podcast the other day, and he was talking about them, and he said, I could eat a whole bag of these. And I said, yeah. I'm thinking to myself, I probably could too. Well, then he went on to talk about those in general, right? There's they don't fill you up. They have a load of calories, but there's not even any substance to them.
There's nothing to
right?
them.
There's nothing to them. So someone can eat a whole bag and not even feel like
they've eaten
remotely
anything.
even full, you know? So we have these oversatiating foods that provide literally no benefit to your body, and we just want to eat more and more and more and more of them and never feel full, versus you could go eat a 6-ounce steak and be like, oh my gosh, I am done. You know, I'm full. And the calories are probably less in that, you know? So I think that's part of where helping people make decisions in that regard. Like, we know in our house, Brady's the same way. If there's cookies on the counter, he'll eat 5 of them a day.
Yeah.
Like he has, if it's
Zero
in the house,
self-control.
none. And he can do that because of like
The way he's built.
Yes, the way he's built and how hard he works and his metabolism. He won't always be able to do that though. And he'll just frankly say, like, don't make those, don't keep them, you know, because I can't stop.
Yeah.
And so we have a rule, like, it's if you or someone you love, if it's in your house, you or someone you love is going to eat it. And so if you don't want them to eat it, either don't buy it or don't keep it in the house and reserve it for special occasions. And so there are things that we'll get when we go on a road trip, because it's on a road trip, right? And then we know when we come back home, we're not having that anymore. Or he'll go to his mom's house, which is just behind our house. We built them a little house for them. He'll go to his mom's house to have a caramel roll because I'm not making caramel rolls, because he'll eat the whole pan, right? And so he can go and have those things and still not have like that all or nothing mindset, but yet not keep them around so that he feels the need to like overindulge. And it's crazy because the longer he has gone on, like, because he didn't always eat the way I eat, he hasn't always taken such good care of himself. It's come over time. But now he's eating chicken and rice for breakfast because it makes him feel good. Not because he really is like, oh yeah, chicken and rice is amazing, but because he feels so good. His body likes it so much. And it's like a reward up here and physically. When you feel good eating things, you know, you tend to kind of dissociate that mental stigma, I guess, of nobody wants to eat chicken and rice for breakfast, but here he is coming home from the gym in the morning at 6:30 eating chicken and rice. Yes, before he goes to work. So yeah, it's always interesting to me, the food stuff and how addictive it is, and it makes me really, really sad for my kids, to be honest, because if it's this hard right now, what's it going to be like in 20 years?
Yeah, it's just getting harder for everybody. Yeah, and people become more chronically obese, more chronically ill, and a lot of it's preventable.
In the heart of the wilderness, every step counts. No matter where or what you're hunting, OnX Hunt Elite has you covered in the US and Canada with offline capability, land ownership, 3D mapping, and you can even access specialty courses, hunt research tools, and elite-specific features. No matter where you pursue the wild, adventure is assured when you upgrade to Elite for the ultimate hunting experience. There are a lot of Americans that understand the value of hunting, but we all know that right now, national support of hunting is extremely volatile. It seems that with every passing day, our voice is diminished and the court of public opinion is not effectively hearing our side. We need advocates working on our behalf in Washington, D.C. to defend our freedom to hunt. And thankfully, when we need it the most, we have that advocate in Safari Club International. SCI's world headquarters are located in Washington, D.C., just blocks from the United States Capitol, which means that SCI is on the ground with our congressional leaders and federal agencies on our behalf, on behalf of the hunting community. SCI has an active political presence in all 50 states through their extensive chapter network and government affairs staff. If you have ever wondered why you should be a member of SCI, you shouldn't wonder anymore. Join us in the fight to defend hunting. Go to safariclub.org to learn more.
When you really look at kids these days, like, the obesity rates alone are frightening, really frightening for kids.
Well, and you even talk about like attention or how much energy you have, and that a lot of times is directly associated with your food consumption. So, you know, around 3 o'clock, if you have that crash where you need caffeine and you're tired and you feel munchy, a lot of times it's because you didn't set yourself up to have a good breakfast in the morning and your blood sugar is plummeting and your body is tired. Your body is now breaking down muscle to create glucose. And if you had fueled yourself better in the morning, you can oftentimes prevent that crash in the afternoon. And people don't realize that what you do in the morning affects how you feel in the afternoon, and what you do at night affects how you feel in the morning. So if you have this big, fatty, greasy dinner, burger, pizza, whatever it is, heavy calorie at night, naturally your body is not going to feel hungry in the morning because fat hides the symptoms of hypoglycemia. So although your cells are hungry in the morning, you may not feel hungry. So you're like, oh, I don't feel like eating breakfast. Ugh, I'm not going to eat breakfast. Well, then you have a late lunch or whatever you do, and then you crash hard in the afternoon. And then you have sugar cravings at night and evening. And so it starts this whole like snowball cycle of a metabolic starvation, which just exacerbates your bad food choices. It's like when I was doing bodybuilding, like on my food cycling, like if you got to a certain level of hunger where you're like, I will eat anything and everything and all of it, like you've waited too long to eat. Like your cells are over hungry. But what you want to do is eat frequently enough to where you're not like, I will eat anything, give me food. But also to where you're not so full you feel like Thanksgiving. And so you want to have a satiated level of hunger, and then you want to interval your food timing to where you're not overly hungry, where you get shaky or you feel like you're going to knock someone over for food. I travel all the time with protein shakes in my car, like, because oftentimes I'm at my property super late at night and I find myself, I'm hungry. And so I'll drink a shake. Is it the best thing in the world for me? Absolutely not. Is it full of chemicals and dyes and all kinds of things? And I mean, whey protein is a byproduct of cheese production. I mean, it's not it's not the best thing in the world for you, but it beats me not eating and then coming home and being ravenous and over consuming things that I shouldn't be consuming.
Or picking up like, I mean, essentially a lot of protein bars also are
bad for you.
They're just like glorified candy bars.
Literally.
Unfortunately, they're just full of so much junk.
And the nutrient ratios on bars, you know, what is deemed healthy and health and good for you is so misleading.
Oh, I agree.
It's so misleading. And you have to be basically a nutritionist to be able to decipher the labels.
Yes, and what is junk and what is real.
Correct.
Yeah. Have you, I recently found a company called G2G. Have you heard of them? They're all real food, no preservatives, 18 grams of protein. They're just real. They need to be refrigerated. They're so good. So if you're ever like, and
it's like a protein bar.
Yeah, but you can keep them like, you normally keep them in the refrigerator, but they're good in your bag for like up to 30 days. So it looks like real food. It's almost like if they just combined it all in a KitchenAid and then pressed it into like a bar form. Brady stole half of them the other day when he was leaving, but I have found like they don't give me gas or make my stomach upset or anything like that because they are literally like real food. So Ridley's in town has them here, or you can buy them, but that's been the best one that I have found. That's just more real food without all the extra junk.
All the garbage that's in it.
Yeah.
So when you're consulting, like you said, you see a lot of moms. What do you see? Like you've had 3 kids. You're in fantastic shape.
Oh, thank you.
What do you see, like women that are coming in feeling acutely bad? What are some of the biggest things that they're doing that you think is attributing to that? Is it alcohol? Is it being sedentary? Is it everything?
I think everybody is kind of like a mix, to be honest. Most people have one thing that stands out the most, though.
So every person will have one thing.
Have one thing that's
glaring.
just like, this is the first thing that we need to tackle. I think, though, the major thing is that when you have kids, and I was guilty of this also, like I bought a Peloton after I had my last baby because I couldn't go to the gym.
No.
Like I had 3 kids at home. Brady was working full time and on call. Like I couldn't leave the house, you know? So I was in a small town in South Dakota with no gym like this. And so I was riding the Peloton in 30 minutes and I'd get so mad when I'd have to get off the Peloton to go be a mom. You know, I just didn't have any time for myself. And I think that is the biggest mistake that most parents make is, or most moms, I guess, is giving up that time to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Whether it's an hour, whether it's 2 hours, whether it's 30 minutes, like just finding that time to go walk, to take some time away. Like I was a stay-at-home, work from home, homeschool mom in South Dakota.
All of the things.
I had a lot on my plate and I was never alone. Ever. I was always with another human. And so you can imagine, like when I come to forage, it's like my own time, right? It's like, don't call me, don't text me, you know I'm here, like leave me alone for an hour. And that sounds selfish coming out like that.
No,
but
it's not.
At the same time, it's not, because I need that time to be a better mom. I need that time to be a better wife. And so encouraging women just to like, it's okay to take care of you because you cannot pour from an empty cup. And it's a problem. We're not moving. There's the amount of time that women sit at a desk at work. Like we've just become very sedentary. And if you look at most people when they come to me, what their daily step count is, it's usually between 3,000 and 4,000 a day. Like we're not moving enough. And so when you take that into consideration and then never tracking their food or knowing how much they should eat, it's really easy, just like week by week. You know, a pound, 3,500 calories extra is 1 pound.
That's right.
It is so easy.
So easy.
I mean, I could eat that in 2 days.
That's how
extra.
you gain so much weight on vacation.
Yes,
It's like
it is. But imagine
frenzy.
if you're just eating like 500 extra calories a day.
That's right.
You know how easy it is
to gain a pound,
to gain weight over time and not even notice, you know, because some weeks you might be way over, some weeks you might be normal, some you might be under, but then over the course of, you know, a year or 2 years, whatever, it's really easy to pack on weight and not the weight that we want. We don't, you know, so most of it becomes awareness of that. And then also like what do you actually need to eat? How much protein are you consuming? Females in general do not consume enough. And so trying to even get them to the point of 1 gram per pound is
minimum.
Oh yeah, it's like they're mind blown, and it's like you weigh 130 pounds and you're eating 40 grams of protein a day. We can't be doing that.
No,
you know, it's not enough. And your body doesn't eat that many carbs. That's also probably why you feel like crap. Yeah. You know, so.
And that's probably all, I mean, the carbs is also why people end up with diabetes.
Yeah.
And high cholesterol is overconsumption of carbohydrates. And I listened to a really cool research podcast the other day from a woman, and she was talking about women in their 40s and the most important things that they can do to strengthen their bones, prevent osteoporosis, and then also have more bone density so that when you have a fall in your late 70s and 80s, you're more likely to survive. The number one thing she said for women to do is heavy weightlifting. Heavy weightlifting. Number 2 was actually jump training.
Like on a rebounder type?
I'm not sure what she meant by jump training, but some sort of impact jump training where you're putting stress on your joints in a jumping form. I've never done jump training. And then sprinting. And then the 4th thing was at least 1.1 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And that's the minimum. Those 4 things, if we do them, from the time we're 40, when we're 80 and we fall, we're not going to break a hip. And obviously, it's a fatal injury statistically. So we're more likely to survive and have healthier, happier lifestyles from those 4 things. And so I was telling Chancellor today, I'm like, Chancellor, I'm supposed to start jump training. I don't know what this means.
Hey, you can come join my girls over here.
Apparently, this is like and then sprinting. He's like, well, we can work some sprints into it. I'm like, I'm sprinting if you're sprinting. I don't know about sprinting. Like, I don't know about sprinting, but but the strength training for me, I mean, lifting heavy weights. I've always lifted weights, but lifting heavy weights has transformed my physique in a year.
Yeah.
Like the amount of well, I've been 3 days a week with Forge now for 12 months, and it is like I feel, and I had I had one of those flat mom butts. I'm not a mom, but I had the flat butt. Like it was a butt, but it was it was weak, I have always had a lazy butt. Like even when I was doing competitive bodybuilding, like when I was doing figure and I'd be on stage, my butt was flatter looking. It wasn't like these big popping booties. And so that's one thing, Chancellor, I've been like, please help me, because your glutes are where you draw power from. We want nice, firm glutes in the mountains. So, and to be able to carry heavy backpacks and all the things. And so strength training, I can't tell women enough, they're like, I need to bike and walk and do cardio. And it's like, okay, we need strength training, prioritize that above, in my opinion, the cardio. Because I think people over cardio and your muscles are your metabolic machinery. That's where we burn our fat. That's where our metabolic.
So many women, they don't realize the more muscle mass you have, the more calories you burn at rest.
That's right. Just
sitting there. And so if you don't have any, your metabolism is I don't really need much, right?
No, I'm good. I'll just camp over here.
Just hang out. So if all you're going to do is cardio, well, watch your metabolism just slowly decline, and you don't need as much food anymore because you're not burning as many calories just sitting there. So when I program someone nutrition-wise, the only thing I tell them is, one, we're gonna lift at least 3 days a week, and you're gonna be lifting heavy, and then I just want you to get 10,000 steps a day. I just want you to move, no cardio. I have never, in 2.5 years of doing this, told anybody that they need to jump on a cardio machine for fat loss. Most people completely underrate. The other nice thing about lifting and walking is those two things. I'm sure you remember from when you were doing massive amounts of cardio, it makes you very hungry. Yeah. You get off the machine or whatever you're doing and you're like, oh, I am so hungry now, versus lift weights, go for some good walks, and your body doesn't feel like it needs to eat all the time. Yeah. And so it's easier to be in a deficit when you're not doing an insane amount of cardio and just getting that extra movement in a low impact way. It's also incredibly good, much better for your joints in terms of longevity. And it's something that there's so many different ways to do it. You can incorporate it a walking pad in your office, or going for 15-minute walks as you need a break just to get outside and get some sunshine. Taking your kids in a stroller, that is what I used to have to do. It's the easiest way where you don't need any equipment either, and it's crazy how quickly quickly that can add up over time to make it so much easier to lose weight, if that's what your goal is, without attacking your muscle mass either, because people don't realize that as well. It's even if you're lifting, if you're going and then doing a crazy amount of cardio, most cardio doesn't burn fat.
Well, it depends the type. Well, it depends on your heart rate, right? So that's where aerobic versus anaerobic cardio, you want to stay in your target heart rate. So there's a formulation online, you can go in and plug in your age, and it will give you your target heart rate, and in plus or minus 4 beats is what I've always said is, if you want to lose fat, that is, you want to stay in that. Normally it's a brisk walk, and you can have a conversation. And so that is where you want to be to try to target that fat loss. And then, your cardio is going to be more effective at fat loss if you've done it following a strength training workout, because that strength training workout is going to get all the sugar, burn all the glucose out of your muscle, and you're going to mobilize fat faster during your target heart rate cardio session. And it doesn't have to be that you're running. You can go walk with friends. You can, like you said, it does. And something that's going to involve those larger muscle groups, your buttocks, your legs, get your body moving. If you like rowing, you can row. If you have joint injuries or knee injuries, the Peloton bike is great.
As long as you stay away from, I threw myself,
high intensity.
Yeah, because I threw myself into a spiral of hormone issues, honestly, because I rode that thing in HIIT intervals 24/7. Every day of the week, I was riding that sucker and burning a ton of calories doing it, and I was skinny.
I know, I used to follow you on Peloton. I used to Peloton hard.
Yeah, I could ride that thing like a beast, but my adrenals were because I was causing...
And your cortisol levels were crazy.
Yes, it was so high because my body was just like, fight or flight all the time. And I needed to teach it how to chill out, you know? And unfortunately, I think the more cardio you do, people don't feel like they're doing anything with walking. And whereas that, like, there's there's a ton of adrenaline that
you don't
goes
have
with
to
it.
suffer to have progress.
No, and I think that's part of like the culture of cardio also, is like, you don't have to be, you know, running full speed, or you don't have to be just demolishing the elliptical in order to have good results. Like, if you're looking for actual cardiovascular benefits, then that's a different story. But if you are doing it for fat loss, obviously you have to be very, I guess, strategic in that regard, because if you're trying to also burn or build muscle, there's always a balance with that kind of stuff, so that you're not hurting your progress more than you're actually doing something to benefit it. So,
well, and training here at Forge is completely different than any other training I've ever done, you know, on the beauty building, bodybuilding side. Training with Chancellor's been, you know, it is heavier, it is more focused, it is more intense, but I'll tell you, having somebody watch your every move
or yell at you.
But just, even like I'll go to do a sumo pull, squat, pull, and or no, sumo deadlift. Well, not squat, sumo deadlift. And like I'll start rounding up my back out of a bad habit, and he'll watch me and be like, no, stop right now. Square up your back. Like, having someone watch you, having someone supervise you, have someone program for you based on your specific goals, based on your biomechanics. Like, I have to lift with wedges because I have weak ankles. And so I should have wedge shoes, but I haven't bought them. But I have weak ankles. And so having someone be able to watch me and be like, wait a second, let me test you. And like, a lot of people just don't know how to do it without getting hurt. And I know there's a lot of moms that are super busy that are like, well, I don't have the time to do this or that. And it's like, okay, well, hire a trainer 3 times a week, have someone watch you, have someone program for you. It is a absolute priority. This is, you schedule in advance. My gym workouts I make a month in advance, and you go, and it's your time, like you say, disconnect. And if you think about it, you know, like you're talking about, a lot of women feel selfish, but when you're on an airplane and you have an emergency, the first thing they tell you is put your mask on first. Because if you don't have oxygen, you can't help other people. The gym is the same way. You have to put your mask on first and get rid of the mom guilt and say, this is part of my lifeline. So I'm gonna go, I'm taking this hour. It's not selfish of me. It's actually more beneficial. And like you said, you can't pour from an empty cup. Get a trainer, get a coach, find somebody you trust and commit to that. And then it will inspire you to, you know, when you start seeing progress, but also when you have someone asking you questions like, oh, how are you eating? What are you doing? It'll inspire you to be more accountable and also want to work towards that next level of progress.
Yeah. I also think as parents, like, this is something I personally have, I work with a lot of athletes, and I think the biggest disservice parents do to their kids is not taking care of themselves, because you're their first example. Right? And so a lot of parents want their kids to be these stellar athletes and get recruited and all of these things, but they're not doing anything. And so what are you expecting of your kid to be like in the gym every day and taking care of themselves and eating healthy when that's not the expectation at home, right? And so I think as parents, we can do a better job on all fronts. You know, that's why a lot of our friends have really athletic, successful kids, is because they are also athletes and still taking care of themselves and prioritizing their food. And it literally passes on from generation to generation. If you have an active parent, you're more likely to be active. And then it becomes like a habit. Like, my biggest goal with my kids is to teach them how to cook for themselves, how to gather and hunt their own food so that they don't have to rely on anybody, and to learn how to make taking care of themselves a lifestyle and not just something that they have to do or something to check off of their list, right? Like they do at school, right? I want it to be who they are and to enjoy it and for it to last beyond when they move out of my home, right? And so I think if we get behind as parents, like, if you're not doing it, you can't expect them to. And most parents will realize that when they have a teenager, and the teenager's like, well, did you go to the gym today? Like my son said that to me the other day. I was like, did you go to the gym with Dad this morning? And he's like, no. And I'm like, why not? And he's like, well, have you gone to the gym? And I was like, no, I went yesterday. Today's my off day. But I could say that, right? But had I not, like, eventually they'll throw that back in your face, you know, and you have to be prepared for those conversations. And so I think as parents, the better example we are, the easier it is to lead our kids in that way. It's just like hunting, right? Like, I didn't get to have that benefit growing up, but now my kids do, because, you know, we've developed that as a family lifestyle type thing. But I wouldn't even have access to it, or would it be expected of me had I not, you know, had that experience. So.
And I also think for kids, when you give up everything as a mom, and I've seen so many people do it. My sister is, like, I love her to death, but she has given up her whole life for her kids. And everything revolves around the kids that she does. When you give up everything for your kids, kids in the entire history of the world have never been the entire focus of the family. And parents are now making their kids not godlike, but they worship these kids, and they want the kids to do this, and the kid has to do that, and they need to do this collegiate deal, and they've got to qualify for that scholarship, and they need to perform this way. And everything becomes about the kid. These kids get a psychological inflated ego that the world revolves around them, and it really doesn't. And it's really healthy for kids to learn no, delayed gratification. Sorry, you want to do travel sports and you're the best softball player in the state. That's great. You're still going to be the best softball player, but mom and dad can't afford it. And so you're going to play softball like everybody else. And also, it's still good for kids to do other things. You see these kids that are coming in now, 18, 19, 20 years old, that have joint issues and issues in their bodies from overuse that they're seeing in geriatric patients, because the parents are overtraining them for so long in their youth on sport-specific performance that's literally wearing out the kid before they even have a chance to grow into their sport of choice, potentially. And so, you know, pulling some of that pressure off the kids, pulling some of the hyper focus on, like, you have to spend $1,000 a month on your kid to do travel sports. Like, parents need to be a little more forgiving for themselves and be like, hey, we're a family unit. We all work off a budget. We all work off a time frame, and we all have to give and take in a family as a unit to function. And not everything revolves around me as a mom or you as a kid, or, you know, and everybody gives and takes. And I think that's what really makes, like, a healthy family. So if you don't take time for yourself as a mom, and you give everything to your kid, and you're really actually doing your child a disservice when they go to get older and that next level of life. They don't know what no means. They don't know what delayed gratification is. They think the world revolves around them. They don't know how to compromise because their mom and dad gave them everything. It's really not healthy.
Yeah.
Like, not healthy at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. It's interesting because I think you see both sides, right? Like, you see the kids who aren't doing anything and think that they should have the collegiate responsibility or the collegiate offers and all of those. And then you see the kids who are doing too much and burning out, right? Before it even gets to the point of it being worth it and enjoyable and all of those things. So I think, like, trying to find that balance, you know, as a family is really hard. That was something that when we decided to move here, it was a big sacrifice, right? Like, financially for our family and for just time-wise. We were living in South Dakota in a tiny little town. 3,500 people. Our house was almost paid off, but we were bored out of our minds outside of hunting season. And we had hunted whitetails and mule deer and antelope, and we could draw a once-in-a-lifetime elk tag there. You know, it was just, we were spending so much time out here. And when we really looked at our family and what we wanted for our family and the adventures we wanted to go on and the things that, you know, that money can't buy, you know, the time in the mountain, the time together, the sports that is a huge part of our life, right? all of those things, we couldn't have those things. So it was like, okay, we are going to sacrifice some things financially so that we can make it happen. We're gonna buy land, we're gonna build a house. Like my kids spent—
Yeah, you guys did sweat equity on your house like nobody's business.
No, and we lived in a camper for a year. My children, all 3 of my kids with 2 dogs, 5 of us, and 2 dogs lived in a bunkhouse camper on our property for a full year while we built our home. Like, my kids know what it's like to sacrifice, to now have a home here, to have the community that we have, to be able to enjoy the adventures here. And my son, I mean, he's worked just as much as I have on our home. Like he was helping with the foundation. He was hauling all the landscape rock. He learned how to drive a skid steer, like stuff like that, where as a parent, you're like, we've taught him not only like, one, life is short. If you're not happy somewhere, change it.
Yeah.
Go after it. You'll always find a way if you want it bad enough.
Sure.
But also too, like you do have to sacrifice some things. And was it fun living in a camper?
No.
Not really. It wasn't. Like, it was the worst winter here. Like, we had the most, it was like record snow.
Oh, that was oh my
cold.
gosh, that was horrible.
It was awful. Like, we had to winterize the camper one week because it was like negative 30 degrees and we had to go without water, and we were just roughing. It was like we were hunting, but we weren't. You know, we were just roughing it, and the heater would go out, and
you're like, I gotta go to the gym so I can have a shower.
Yeah, the propane tank was freezing because it was so cold, so our heat wasn't running. So Brady was like putting that in the truck to warm it up so that we could like keep the heat going. Like, it was a wreck. But we made so many memories, and we have this beautiful home now here where we want to be. So everybody made sacrifices, and I think that's probably one of the things that we have done a good job, I guess, at parenting. But now we're at the travel sports stage, right? And there's a lot that goes with it. Like, our son is working to take care of some of that stuff.
Good for him.
You want a new bat? Okay, dad owns an electrical company. Get to work, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can earn those things because we are not a cash cow.
No.
Like, and we made the sacrifices to move out here. Like, it's more expensive to live here than
really
it is to South Dakota. And so, yeah, there's been a lot of things. Like, our kids all participate in our home. They all make supper. They all do dishes. They clean their own room. I don't do anybody's laundry. Like, that's pretty smart. That is the benefit of being a homeschool parent. You're just like, okay, here's the thing. They're home. Like, they can, I'm teaching them how to be good adults, right? Like, because eventually they need to go and do this on their own. And so my 6-year-old, she's 9 now, but she's been doing her laundry since she was 6. Like, most parents just don't think that they're doing them favors by doing that, but they are teaching them so many life skills that they're not learning in school. Nobody's teaching them those things in school. So if you want them to be successful adults, like, Callie's probably the best cook in our house. She's 12.
That's awesome.
You know, like, she loves it. She can bake. She does all the things, and she has a lot of pride in it, right? And it's part of our family. She's contributing. So, I don't know. You're right in terms of, like, there's a lot of parents who just let their kids rule
the roost.
Yeah, yeah.
So talk a little bit about how you incorporate gardening and hunting and education into your household, because I think there's a lot of moms, like I have a girlfriend, Jen, and she has chickens and she now has goats and she has horses, but her kids are learning chores and responsibility.
Yeah.
Myself, when I was growing up, you know, if I wanted school clothes, I had to change irrigation all summer, and my parents paid me $20 a week, and at the end of the summer, that was my budget to go school clothes shopping. And I changed pipe all summer long, and my sister about took my finger off changing pipe one year, but it was a great character building for me, because you appreciated the dollar that your mom gave you. Like, okay, you get $20 a week. This is your money. This is what you have. You've earned this. Like, talk about what that looks like in your home, so that maybe other moms out there that are thinking of, like, how could I manage being a homeschool mom, or what can I do in my own household to maybe give more for my kids that will help them?
I think a lot of it for us is, well, Cooper's a little bit different just because he's 15 now, and with Brady having a company, he can go and actually work and make an actual wage. And Most of that goes into savings because he wants to buy a truck, and we are not about to just hand him one.
No.
We're just not those people.
Well, you could do the Dave Ramsey thing where he's like, I will be like a 401 dad match on the car up to a certain amount.
Yeah.
So like if you come up with $5,000, I'll come up with $5,000, and then now we have something like.
Yes, we'll definitely help him, but we want him like the delayed gratification piece, right? Like we don't just want to be like, okay, you can go get a truck now and we'll pay for half of it down the road or later, or you'll pay us back or any of that. We want him to actually work for it first so that he can see the money and then go spend the money. You know what I mean? So it's, he knows what he's getting. But we are big believers actually in my kids don't get an allowance and they don't get paid for chores around the house because of our family dynamic, because we're home, because we're always home. Everybody gets the house dirty. Everybody has to help clean. Everybody has to help with the yard work and those types of things. So anything that's actually at our house, that's just part of our.
You get to eat and have and internet.
I buy your cell phone. Those
well, we didn't have those things when I was a kid.
No, me neither.
I earned the $20 for school clothes. I mean, I never got to see the money.
Yes, I babysat for all of my school clothes. I paid for my own car, all of those things. But for Cooper, obviously he has that opportunity. Callie,
she's 12.
She's 12, and Kaisley is 9. They are in the stage of we're encouraging them to think about starting a little business on their own, because we think that is very, one, as a homeschool parent, it's easy to incorporate. How do you do that and help them build it into just their everyday education? But also it's just a good life skill, right? Sure. She wants to be an entrepreneur of some sort anyway. So it's what do you want to do?
Well, if your 12-year-old's a good cook, I'll give you an idea.
Okay.
So when I was in high school, I got the kitchen in my parents' house licensed through the state, and I owned my own catering company in high school.
What?
Yes.
So in the state of Wyoming, I don't even think you have to get licensed because of the Food Freedom Act.
Okay, well, you might not have to, but I had to get licensed I was in Oregon. So in high school, I quit high school and started going to a charter school. I did not do well in a normal school setting. I was never very social, and school wasn't my thing. So I basically put myself into a charter school, which was a homeschool, and I started my own business when I was 16. And so I started a catering company, and I had a route that I went on every day, and I brought a basket, and it had sandwiches and cookies and pasta salads and green salads, and I had a route, and every day I drove this route. And this was before coffee shops were in medical centers, right?
Yeah.
And I would go to these doctor's offices with my little basket at 16, and people would buy my food from me.
That is so cute.
And that was my job.
Yeah.
I did that. I went to school, and so maybe she starts, if she's a good cook and she's 12, there you go.
I keep telling her that
she could become a pastry chef or something.
So she has had this Callie's Creations in her mind for years.
So
since
cute.
she was 6. She wanted Callie's Creations or Callie, and so she's sold Play-Doh kits before. She's made and sold Play-Doh kits. She has done, we had a little shop in South Dakota for a while. It was called Antlers and Aspen. And they sold scrunchies. They were in the scrunchie era for a while.
I saw someone wearing one today. They're still a thing.
I still love them.
Yeah, it's still a thing.
They keep my hair from getting all those nasty lines in them. But I keep telling her she should meal prep. Because she's really good at it, and she'll do a lot of my meal prep for me. You could make meals and sell them even locally, make a delivery, because people here,
sure.
Chancellor's eating one every other day from his dad.
Meal preps for him.
I'm you lucky duck.
I know. Every time he walks in, I'm like, Dad, what'd you bring for lunch today?
Yes, I know.
I don't even know his dad's name. I just call him Dad.
I know. I'm he needs to set up a shop out front.
He does.
Because he had I think it was a protein French toast the other day with Greek yogurt on the top. I'm I need that recipe.
Oh, amen to that.
It looked so good. But in addition to that and that, we don't have have chickens yet. That is actually on our list for, yes, I'm trying to convince Brady. He's in the, I'm doing nothing with them if you get them phase of like, you can get them, but don't ask me for any help, which I will need help building, like
100%.
a coop and that type of thing. So I'm still working on him with that, or his dad. His dad might. I usually can get Papa Gary to help me with a lot of stuff. Yeah, but the gardening, I mean, they're just used to it. So like with the hunting, a lot of that, like we process all of our own game, so we don't take it anywhere. So when Callie and I went elk hunting this year, Brady was actually in.
Yeah, you guys got cows.
Yes, and hers, like, he was gone. So he was in, where was he at? Colorado. He and Cooper were on like a 2-week hunt. Brady had a Colorado mule deer tag and Cooper had a Wyoming elk tag, I think. Yeah. And so they were gone for 2 weeks and they're like, do you want to go hunting? And we're like, sure, yeah, we'll go. So we met up with a friend over from Gillette and we went out with him, and then we knew if she shot something that it was going to be me that was going to have to do all of it. And normally, like, I'm not one of those women who's like, I have to know how to do everything. Like, I will fully take advantage of having a husband that is more than capable. Like, I don't have like that ego that I have to be able to do everything when I hunt. Like, I do so much for him.
You're okay with it.
You can do this for me. So normally I don't have to debone, but Callie does it all the time. And so we got home and her and I deboned that thing. We got it all ground up. We made bacon burgers with a lot of it, turned some of it into a breakfast sausage mix that she uses for her breakfast burritos that she makes. And so they're just so used to it that it's like, we shoot something, we bring it home, we take care of it, and it goes in the freezer. And so a lot of that, I think, is just trying to make it normal for them. Like, this is where our food comes from, you know, that it's not, we don't make it into being like this huge ordeal, or that it's, everybody helps, right? So everybody knows where how to do it and where it's coming from and all of that. So I don't know. I hope they enjoy it. I hope they don't hate me for it, that we make them do that.
You for it, yeah. What about your garden? You do a big garden?
Yeah, I had a huge garden in South Dakota, and then when we moved here last year, we were doing all of our landscaping and all that. So I kind of let my father-in-law take over the garden. So when we built our home, I don't know if you knew this or not, but we built our house and then we built them a house on our property. He's a big gardener. And I don't like weeding, and he is really good at taking care of that kind of stuff. So I get to kind of reap the benefits. Like, I helped him plant all of it, but he kind of tends to it and does a lot of that. And then I just do all the canning. And,
So what do you have in your garden?
Last year we did cabbage, tomatoes, carrots, beets, zucchini, buttercup squash, peas, green beans. Like, that was it.
And then you can it all.
Some we freeze. So we recently also just got a freeze dryer so that I could make all of Brady's meals for hunting, because that, once you have multiple people in your home,
it's expensive.
Like, it's crazy. Like, when they were about to leave for their 2-week trip, I was gonna order meals, and I went on to order them, and I was like, I just can't justify spending $900
when you could buy a freeze dryer for $4,500 and be done for life.
Yes, and so that's what I did.
$3,500, yeah, whatever
what
it is.
I did.
Yeah.
So I drove up to Shields, and I had a week to get a bunch of meals made, and I just went to town on all of our. And I had been dehydrating them, but they don't last as long, and they don't taste as good. So I made a ton of breakfast and chili and pastas and all sorts of things and sent them with, and they couldn't believe how good they were. And like, now we have this machine. So a lot of, like, all of our carrots, those go in there. What else have we done so far? We did some beets. I did blueberries. Like, we'll get like right now you can get in season strawberries, and so I will freeze dry a whole bunch of strawberries.
Right now there's strawberries.
Yeah, the fruit truck in town, so you can get, like, the fruit truck just came today, this morning actually, and you go to Cloud Peak Lanes in town where the bowling alley is.
Okay.
And this big semi arrives, and they offload pallets and pallets of strawberries, and people were like lined up everywhere. But
I had no idea this was a thing.
yes, so they're fresh and they bring them up. Supposedly it's strawberry season. And so, yeah, I just got 2 crates of strawberries, and I'll freeze dry them so that we can use them then in, like, I'll make the
oatmeal or whatever.
The oatmeal ones with like the protein powder and the milk. I'll freeze dry some milk and then throw that in there.
Wait, you freeze dry milk? Like wet milk?
Yeah.
You don't just buy powdered milk?
Well, I could, but I can freeze dry like raw milk from the co-op here. So it'll still have all full fat and all full nutrients.
Okay, so explain this co-op you're talking about, because I don't know anything about this either.
Oh, downtown Freedom Foods.
Okay.
It's a co-op. There you can get raw milk there. You can get eggs. You can get yogurt made from raw milk. You can get butter. You can get a lot of good high quality pork, some beef, sourdough, all sorts of like sauerkrauts and like fresh stuff. It's a bunch of local producers that then bring their stuff into the co-op, and then she sells it.
So there's probably co-ops like this, I would presume, springing up in towns across the country, if we have one in little old Sheridan, Wyoming.
Yeah.
And I am gonna go to this now co-op. So I live here, but I pretty much don't leave. I go to the gym and my house and the property.
It's not far from here.
And that's it.
Literally just down, it's on Main Street, and then you go to the end. So it's like right before you would turn on to caffeine.
Okay.
It's just right there. It's
right
called
there.
Freedom Foods.
Okay.
They're not open every day of the week. I think they're closed on Mondays, but I think they're open Tuesday through Saturday.
Okay. So finding a local co-op to find whole.
Yeah, because I'd love to have a cow, right? But I don't have time to milk a cow.
I am not
twice
milking
a day.
a cow.
I am not about to milk a cow.
Or feeding one.
No.
The only thing I want to put in my backyard in town right now is 2 tiny mini donkeys, but I'm afraid
your neighbors would go nuts.
I'm afraid I might get in trouble for that. But
Are those little tiny Highland cows? Those
no, I don't want the cows.
Cute.
I want the little donkeys.
But yeah, you can get fresh raw milk for $6 a half gallon. It's amazing, and it tastes so good, and it makes the best yogurt on the planet. That's what when Brady's always posting about yogurt, that's where it's from.
You make your own yogurts and everything. Wow. See, what I need to do is come to a cooking segment with you for my show where you show me how to make all this stuff, because that would be so amazing.
Bone broth, yogurt, kombucha. I can make all that stuff.
So you make all, and your kids are also learning how to do all of this stuff. Okay, you guys, stay tuned to another round of this podcast, because we're gonna do this. We're gonna set this up.
I mean, a lot of people don't realize that, like, with health, when we talk about the addictive foods and we talk about all the processed stuff, a lot of it is finding a food or something that you enjoy to replace something that you used to get a dopamine hit from. So that is one of the things, a strategy that I use all the time of like, okay, you love ice cream. I get it, me too. So what's a swap that we can make?
Yogurt.
Or the Ninja Creamy. Where you're
Wait, what's a Ninja Creamy?
You don't have one of those? No. Okay, so I told Chancellor and Mike that they both needed one of these because it's been the best thing.
I have a Vitamix.
Okay, so not the same.
Okay.
I also have one of those, but it's this little machine where you can make pints. So you put in, so a typical Ninja Creamy recipe, for example, is probably 8 ounces of almond milk at like 30 calories, right? Sure. 2 tablespoons of sugar-free or any type of vanilla pudding mix into there to add like some flavor and consistency, your protein powder of choice. You mix that together, you freeze it, you put in the Ninja Creamy, and it legit tastes like real ice cream for like 150 calories.
Oh, I'm getting one.
Yeah.
The Ninja Creamy. Okay, y'all heard it here second.
Yeah, and now you'll get on Instagram and you'll have all these recipes.
Ninja Creamy!
It's
so spying on me.
To you, and you're gonna get like a boatload of recipes coming. But that's how my kids make all of their ice cream.
Yeah. So when they want ice cream, you just get some sugar-free pudding of your flavor and
your protein powder
powder mix and milk.
And you can use any milk.
We can go to the co-op and get the yummy milk.
Right. Or you could use like a Fairlife shake. There's people who literally just freeze one of those Fairlife shakes and then it's chocolate milk or strawberry or vanilla or whatever. You freeze it and then you just do like the light ice cream mix and then you can add in your Oreos or anything and turn it into a blizzard for a fraction of the calories of what you're used to, right? And so
Fantastic.
When you make some of those swaps, you're not missing out. You're still getting to have like some of that enjoyable things, but you're missing out on all the junk and the addictiveness and all of the other stuff, yet still having some pleasure from something sweet and something enjoyable and half the calories usually.
Oh, I love that. Well, so your kids are going to be so well-rounded. Like your 9, 12, and 15-year-old are going to be pretty amazing adults.
I hope so. That's the goal, right?
They're already doing better than me. I don't even know what a Ninja Creamy is.
Callie is probably the one that's taken to most of it the most. Like she is definitely the one who likes to come up with different creations in the kitchen. And
I love pecan butter. Like all these people are like, oh, we're gonna make almond butter or peanut butter. And I'm like, no, pecan butter is where it's at.
Oh, I'm sure.
So good. Add a little cinnamon to that.
I'm sure I could make that too.
Ooh, it's so good.
Have you ever, most people don't realize you can make your own mayo, like paleo mayo.
Yeah.
How easy that is. Like all of your condiments, no preservatives, most of those things can easily be whipped up at home. The biggest thing is, do you have the time for it?
And how do you preserve them? I guess you can them. What do you do with mayonnaise? You can mayonnaise?
You just put it in the fridge and you just don't make it in a huge batch.
Okay,
right?
You just make a small batch of mayo.
So all it is like it's egg and oil. So if you're using, I use avocado oil, so you just buy avocado oil or olive oil from Costco, and then you have your eggs and you just put it in a food processor or a Vitamix and you just let it go, and then it turns into mayo. People don't realize that, but like they're buying $9 paleo mayo so that it doesn't have all the sugar and all the other junk and all of that, when you can make it for $2 at home.
So much more inexpensive as well. Especially with growing kids, like your grocery bill with 3 kids could be really
insane.
My problem with where I'm at in life is I live alone, and so when I cook something, like I made stuffed peppers last week. It was one of the recipes from the Wilderness Athlete Cookbook, and I loved it. It's like peppers, and it's ground elk and onion, and it's sweet potato, and then you top it with a little feta cheese. It's delicious. But when I make it, I have so much. So like I instantly I make a pan of peppers, but then I freeze.
Yeah.
I've been really big on freezing food, and then I'll be like, well, I had this 2 weeks ago and I'm going to take out the other half now. And so I'm trying to get better about that. I have to find a better way to preserve the food that I'm making. And so like canning is really fascinating to me now. It's like, okay, I can't eat all this food. Like it's not possible for me to eat that much. So I'm trying to get more creative with my food storage.
A lot of people will take, like in your instance like that,
and freeze dry it.
They take their leftovers and they just shove it in the machine. Because the nice part about the freeze dryer is you can do something like cheese on the bottom and soup in the middle and a meal like that on top. Like it doesn't have to be 6 trays of the same thing. It's not like a dehydrator where it like takes over the flavor of the other stuff, because it freezes it right away. It doesn't do that. And so you can
mix the batch.
Yeah, there'll be times where I'm like, oh, I got an extra tray and I'm closing it anyways. I might as well throw some cheese in there and have freeze-dried cheese in our storage, right? And so you can just chuck anything that you want in there.
I didn't know you could freeze-dry cheese like that. And so then when he's on the mountain, he just like, well, I know you can eggs because I eat the Mountain House or whatever eggs, but cheese, you just add water to your cheese when you're hunting?
Well, you just sprinkle it into something. So when you think about it, like people will even freeze dry like just a slice of cheese, which I'm not really about to go do that. But when I make his like burrito bowl type, I just combine it all and shove it on the trays. So it has cheese mixed into it.
Sure.
And then when I prep the meal and put it in the bags after it's freeze dried, then I'll just take some of the sprinkled cheese and then sprinkle that on top so that when he makes it, it'll definitely be cheesy. You know what I mean? So there's so many different ways that you can do it, but freeze drying, like it's where it's at if you have leftovers that you can't eat, because eventually the freezer ones, like, that doesn't taste as good. But if you could then take that and turn it into a meal that you can then eat when you're with your mules in the backcountry, like, that's got like some really, major benefits.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, or just if I'm going wherever.
Or even if you're just out of my property, ranch, right? You know, like, there's
well,
so
because
many
now
times.
the days are longer. I told my mom the other day, I'm like, I'm going to have to start like eating dinner out there, because once it's daylight until 9 or 10 at night, I'm going to be out there like super late. And then when do you eat? Like, even now I'm getting in at like 8 at night, and I'm like, I have to eat now. And it's like, I don't really want to eat, but I need to get a different system now that we're heading into, more spring and summer months, and days are longer, and there's more outdoor opportunity to be doing things. So, back on the train, any other advice for parents, moms, wives, people on what you're doing with your own family and household?
Oh gosh, hold your kids accountable. I think that is the biggest thing, is teach them how to be good humans first and foremost. I think there's a lot of pressure for them to achieve in a lot of different ways, whether it's in school or athletics or whatever it might be, the test scores, the scholarships, all of those things, but nothing, like, we need kids who are willing to work hard, and to be okay with that, and to work for what they want, and to be smart, and to be lifelong learners, right? I think that is one of the benefits of when you homeschool, or you get to decide what you want to teach your kids, is like, when they're interested in something, you can just decide, okay, well, today we're learning about that, we're going to pick up plumbing or whatever, we don't give parents enough permission, I think, just to teach them other things. Like, it's not, as much as we probably feel like it is, it's not the school system's job to educate our kids as parents. And I think a lot of people think it is. Like, if they didn't learn it, it's the school's fault. No, ultimately, we're parents. It's our job.
Responsibility.
It's our responsibility to make sure our children are educated and go out into the world being mature and responsible and kind humans. And at the end of the day, like, we do have more control than we think we do, and tailoring what they want to do going forward, and letting them just kind of be kids and figure it out along the way. It's crazy how you see their personalities come out in what they're good at and what they're not, and what they like and what they don't like, when you actually take the time to sit and listen to it. But outside of that, like, just teaching kids how to take care of themselves, so that they're not reliant on anybody outside of, like, there's so much power in filling your freezer full of your own food, and knowing where your stuff comes from, and being capable in that regard as well. It feels really darn good to look at your freezer when you hunted all of that, or you grew all of that, and you don't have to worry as much about all the food garbage when you know where it comes from.
Yeah. And if you don't have the luxury of doing that, and like finding, like you're talking about, these co-ops where people that are, can grow it and do it for you, and you can reap the benefit of their labor, and
or going together, right? Like, say we weren't hunters, and we had 2 other friends that also wanted to get high quality meat, and we're like, okay, well, let's go get a cow. We're going to get a cow, get it processed. We're going to split it in quarters, do the same thing with the pig. There's so many different ways that you can go about it. It's just sometimes getting creative and learning what are the best ways. Like, most people don't realize how important the quality of your meat is in terms of just your overall function and the health of your family. And so if you can make that step as like step number 1 to improving your health, focus on your meat, right? And then start eating more fruits and vegetables, and teaching your kids that we have a rule in our house where if it doesn't make you throw up, you have to try it. And so all of my kids are the best eaters, because from the beginning, it was like, did you gag? Did you throw up? Okay, then you better keep eating that, right? And so they love all the things. They love salmon, they love sweet potatoes, they love green beans, they'll eat broccoli, they'll eat all of that stuff just because they've been exposed to it. And we didn't just give in to that, I don't want that. type mentality or mindset. So
I started making my own dog food.
I tried that. How did it go?
It's great. It's so easy because I will take the parts of meat that I don't want in burger or just icky parts, and I freeze them in bags. And then like if I have something that's on the verge of freezer burning, I'll mix those too, but I'll take a beef broth and a chicken broth, or you can do bone broth you can make your own even.
Yeah.
And then I just do that, and then I put the meat in until it's soft and like flaky, and then I add sweet potatoes and peas and broccoli and cauliflower and sometimes yellow potatoes, and then I just cook it until it's like a stew, and then that's my dog food now.
Oh, so I followed a recipe. Do you know Deanne and Paul Servey?
Yeah.
Okay, so they have made their dog food for Apache for a really long time, and I was like, give me a recipe, I need to try this.
Just make stew.
Well, I followed the recipe, and it had like chicken gizzards and like some like bone. It gave my dog massive diarrhea. And so
No.
I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
No, I don't have weird parts. I just eat the refuse that I'm not consuming on my own game.
Okay, I was like, because there's a ton of talk out there about how you need to make sure you have enough omegas and all to make a balanced profile for a dog.
I don't know.
But I can't imagine what you're doing is any worse than the kibble that I'm feeding them, because my dogs are on a limited ingredient, grain-free dog food, because my doodle gets nosebleeds.
Yeah.
And so
I just do a crock pot of it every other week. I just do a big crock pot. Well, my one dog is like 10 pounds, so she doesn't eat very much. And my big dog, he still gets kibble. But so I mix
it.
1 cup of kibble to 1 cup of raw food.
Okay.
And so it's a 50-50 diet for him. He's just he's 115 pounds. It'd be way too much for me to.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do all of it, but it would be it would be a big job for me. So I started making my own dog food, and I'm trying to get Frankie not to eat dog food at all. And so I mush the carrots, and so now, like, as soon as I take out like my last freezer bag full, then I start making another pot, and it's so easy to make. Like you just put it in the crock pot and with the meat, and so it's like, I think I do like 4 pounds of meat. When I make it, it's around 4 pounds of meat, maybe 5 pounds of meat, and I just cook that down all day.
Yeah.
And then I add vegetables until they're cooked down, and it's like stew. I mean, you could eat it. It's literally a human food.
Yeah. Like I need to do that. Well, so when I made it, and then I freeze-dried it, and I'm like, this is gonna be so nice, and I just gotta like take a scoop out and put it. My dogs are obsessed with it, but it just
upset their stomach. Like
So
liver
bad.
is really hard for dogs to digest. Salmon is really hard for dogs to digest. Lamb is really tough for them to digest.
This was like chicken and sweet potatoes.
Well, I just do game. So, because there's so many parts of game that have like sinew and tendons and stuff, and I don't want to eat it. And so I just, that's it. Or if I have something that, like I said, if it's 2-year-old meat that somehow I missed in the freezer, I'll throw that in or whatever.
Or I need to do that with all of our trimmings, like just the stuff that we take off.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I freeze that in a bag, all of the stuff you take off, and then that's why I cook it all day. But they're also still getting meat in there. But I've been making my own dog
good
food.
for them. Yeah, if you get a freeze dryer, you could totally freeze dry it.
I could freeze dry it, and then I wouldn't have to freeze it.
Yeah, and you could make huge batches of it.
Well, I'm limited to my crock pot right now. I have a crock pot.
I'll bring you another one over.
I have a little tiny crock pot, and I have a big crock pot. And it, like I said, I think I do about 5 pounds of meat in it, and then I can add my veggies. And then it's just like a soupy stew. I mean, you could eat it like no problem if you were hungry. I wouldn't. I mean, there's no seasoning in it. There's no salt added. But just buy the cheap chicken broth and beef broth in the grocery store. It's like $1.29, and then I buy a big, huge thing of carrots, a couple sweet potatoes, and like if I have frozen veggies or something that I started eating, and that's the other problem I have is because I eat alone. I start eating veggies and then they kind of get freezer burnty, and then I'll be like, okay, the dogs can have those now, and so I do a lot of that where my dogs end up eating like some of my leftovers and whatnot, and it works good. I just put it in the dog food, and
that is Yeah, I need to do more of that because I spend a fortune
on dog food. Well, then you go, even if you went 50-50 and you cut your dog food consumption back half, because that's what I do with my big dog because he eats 4 cups of food a day. So I just went 50-50 on the natural or raw diet versus dog food.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to figure something out because
$80 a bag for dog food.
Oh.
It's ridiculous.
Mine is $60 off of, I can only get it from Chewy. And so if it's gone, I have it set up as a subscription so it arrives ahead of time. But I can't get it in town. And so there's been times where I've been like making him chicken and rice because I'm like, I can't give you any other dog food. You will have a massive reaction or get a bloody nose.
Sure.
And so if I could just control it all myself and not rely, that's a 20-pound bag that I'm paying $60 for.
It's crazy.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
And you know it's garbage.
It's horrible.
It's all coming from the same. It's just like us eating Doritos or Pringles chips all day, every day, you know?
Well, I started it, my little dog stopped eating dog food. She was like, I'm not eating that. I had a little dog before she passed away, and she was old. So every day I made her a baked potato, and she either had boiled chicken or canned chicken. And so every day I had to do baked potato and chicken for this dog. And my ex-husband was always like, that dog eats better than me. Like,
hey, she doesn't sass back probably.
She does. She was so spoiled. And so now my little Frankie dog, Frankie's not sure about carrots. So what I need to do with the carrots is like the broccoli will fragment into the broth and the meat.
Oh yeah.
The carrots don't do this. So I need to cut the carrots smaller to try tricking her. Cause she'll like spit the carrot on the floor and then my other dog will come in and he'll be like, oh, there's a carrot, and he eats it. And
carrots are sweet. You would think
she'd like it.
Yeah.
So there's so many ways to go with your whole family, from how you're eating, your kids are eating, your pets are eating.
I know.
Like, it's so much.
I know. Someone was saying the other day, it's like, of course you'd have a dog that has intolerances like you do. Like, it's like you have this human dog. It's a dog, you know, obviously, but it's like a dog that is like also has problems. I'm like, I know, but
what I need to do is just get the cows.
Yeah.
And I could put the cows on my property because I have so much grass. And I've been wanting to get cows. I was going to do it last fall, and then I had a fire. And my fence is burned and my grass is not recouped yet. So I can do 2 head, and that would replace the 2 mules I'm selling, and I wouldn't have a net loss in grass. So they have like grazing unit per acre. Like, I think every cow has to have 10 acres per month to graze. And so if I overgraze my pasture, then I don't have enough for my mules. So if I got 2 out there, I wouldn't overgraze. I would just replace the 2 equines I'm selling. And even if I bought another equine, having 2 would be fine. And I could have enough for me, and then I could sell some.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm looking at. So
sweet.
Maybe we could do it like a little farm share program.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll raise you cows.
Yes. Yes.
You do electrical work for me.
Yeah.
I don't think Brady would go for that.
Yeah. The funny thing is he doesn't even like beef anymore.
No.
Because it's crazy. Once you eat only elk for so many years, you get that extra fat in there, and your body's
love
like,
ribeye.
what the heck? So we only eat ribeye from a certain company. So we buy it, and it gets shipped to our door, and it's typically New York strip because we don't like fatty steak
you don't
either.
Like, see, I love fat in a ribeye.
No, I don't know why, but both of us get a stomach ache. So we're so used to like lean.
I can't eat a beef burger. Those, like, if I go to get a hamburger at a restaurant, I'm so sick.
I know,
can't do
it's
it.
terrible.
Horrible.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's funny because I'm always like, should I get steak? She's like, I'd rather just have backstrap. So like we have backstrap cut up, just in chunks, and so we'll just take that out and smoke it, and like that's his favorite thing, or stuff it, put cream cheese and wrap it in bacon or something,
Yeah.
But yeah, I still think it's good though, because there's so much flavor in it that is missing from elk that I'm just like, it'd be nice to have
beef.
Yes, but know where it comes from.
Sure.
I don't want to go buying beef from the grocery store. No. It's just not my thing. So same thing with pigs. Like we have some friends who raise pigs for that. I'm not a huge pork person, but even when we do make like sausage, to be able to have pork that I knew where it came from, that would be really nice, because we combine pork into making a lot of our stuff. Yeah. So it would be nice to have like a known good supplier of that. versus, just trying to go buy pork butts from, a butcher
Costco
shop.
or
Yeah,
wherever.
or wherever here in town. Yeah, for sure.
So if everybody wants to find you or maybe there's some people out there watching or listening that are like, hey, I want to have her consult me on what I can be doing different for my family, fueling my body, or hey, I'm having some of the same metabolic issues. How can people find you?
The easiest way is honestly Instagram. My handle's @Gathering Health. That's pretty much where I live in terms of business. It's most of my life is on there and has been for years. So I answer questions via DM all the time, just from people asking questions or wanting to know more about it. And then most of the time we just set up a time to chat because hiring someone to help you with your health, whether it's food or fitness or whatever, it's a very personal decision and it needs to be a good fit for both people. So just setting up a Zoom just to talk about what they're looking for, what I offer, is typically the route that we go.
That's awesome. Well, I'm hoping maybe someday you'll be part of the Forge family doing it here.
I know.
Be interesting. Hint, Chancellor.
It's crazy because I saw you working out here and then Brady, he started PT with Mike.
Yeah.
And then I sent Mike a message on Instagram and was like, hey, I don't have like a current injury, but I was just like wondering if you would help me like just get my strength back because I had back surgery when I was pregnant with Kaylee. And then I haven't lifted super heavy in a long time. And I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. And I had someone, to help and do it the right way. And so I worked with him from October all the way until February, and it was the best thing I've ever done for myself. It was
with Mike or with Chancellor?
With Mike first.
Okay.
Yeah, Chancellor they are very different in terms of like Mike definitely was necessary for me because I needed someone to go easy on me mentally first, just because I had a lot of trauma through injuries and pain, obviously still. And so I just needed to go slow. I always give Chancellor a hard time because it was like I needed all this time with Mike just to prepare me for Chancellor. Yes. Because I was like, are you trying to hurt me? I think you enjoy giving me pain. Like there are days where I'm like, not actually hurt me, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he wants to make sure I am doing what is necessary, and pushing myself beyond what I think I'm capable of, which is also something that I'm really good at in coaching in volleyball and, in nutrition. And so it's appreciated so much. But I think one of the things that people underestimate is just the value of having someone else, like you've said, like to push you, to program you differently than you've ever done before, or just really to be like, no, you can do 15 more of those. There was one day I got my program the first day, and I looked at it and I was like, 100 leg curls? What? And it was like in as few sets as possible. So I got to pick my weight. Big mistake because I had just took half of what I normally curl at like eight reps. Yeah. And so I did 30 pounds on the leg curl machine, and I got to like 30 reps and I could barely walk. Yeah. And then I still had to get to 100. And I'm like, this is cruel. Well, once you pick the weight, he was like, nope, that's the way you stayed at. So then I'm like 30, then it was like 20, and then it was like 18. And before the next day, the backs of my calves hurt. You're so dying. Bad. Like my whole body. I'm like, this is like death by leg curls. But there's so much of it that I enjoy, like the culture here, the environment, like everybody's so friendly, and it is definitely very different than any other gym in town.
Well, I jumped right into training with Chancellor, so I don't know the niceness of Mike.
Yeah, Mike is very nice.
I just know. He's chill, very chill. I just know the intensity. Like when you watch Chancellor lift on his Instagram page, I tell him, I'm like, looks like your head is going to pop off your shoulders.
Oh, he's going to have a hernia.
Like, something bad is about to explode out of your eyeball sockets or something. Like, he looks so intense. And then he doesn't expect that same intensity from me, but he definitely expects me to
show up
every time. And then, like I said, I'm having my 1 year, been here a year now, solid. And the difference in a year has just been incredible with my strength. I mean, I'm rowing what I used to deadlift. Like, it's crazy, you know, and like I'm doing lat pull downs, and like I used to do lat pull downs at like 70 pounds, and now I'm like 100 pounds. I weigh 127 pounds. I'm, you know, I'm pulling down almost as much as I weigh now, and my bench press is more than what I weigh, and like all of the things that are like these strength indicators, and I'm hitting them finally, and it feels so good. Like, especially when I put a backpack on, and like I've sheep hunt this summer. I'm going to be 65 pounds for 10 days, and I'm going to be able to just rock it out. It's like no problem, you know, and that's one thing I appreciate about this gym. And again, it goes just back to finding that great place and a great community and great people. And even for you, with as much experience as you have, you know, being able to identify it, it's always good to have somebody that can help you, because like you said to your kids, you never stop learning.
No. And ultimately, like, I think there's like a common misconception amongst coaches that they don't need one, you know, in any way. Like, there's
people
a lot
lose
of people,
the ability to be humble.
Yes, and to just, so much of it is just accountability. Yeah, that's what most nutrition coaching is like, I give you a program. I cannot control what you put in your mouth, but I can hold you accountable to the decisions that you're making. And so a lot of
unless they just lie to you.
Yeah, 100%.
Unless they just lie, and then you
which
get
then you
that.
Also know, because they're clearly, if they're filling out the things
progress.
And things aren't happening, like, you know, like, but that's
Somewhere's
also like, you know, someone to call you out on that, and that happens a lot. To be honest, like, it happens a lot. But the same thing goes for here, you know, if I wasn't doing the things on the day that I'm not supposed to be working out with him, he would notice on the days that I am, or if I was, you know, just not working as hard as I'm capable of. I don't know. I just truly believe that everybody has like expertise in different things, and the smartest people in the world aren't the people who have the most knowledge. They are the people who are willing to recognize intelligences in other people and seek that knowledge and be good stewards of it and be appreciative of it, and not take it like it's their own, but yet are like giving credit where credit is due. So much of what I know I've learned from other people, and I'm more than willing to pass along anything that I know. Like, there's no gatekeeping, you know. I have a skill of finding information and finding people, you know, and networking, and I think that's what's so great, like, about Forge, is they're willing to help other people also. Like, this whole space tonight, tomorrow night, the night after, Thursday night is full of all my high school volleyball girls, and they have so graciously like opened up this space for us and allowed me to rent it so I can run a full training program for volleyball specific athletes. There's nowhere else in town that's doing anything like that. And it was all because I took the time to go get coaching on my own. Yeah. And then they realized that I was needing help, and they were willing to help me also. Right. And so I think the more we can do that in our own communities, the more that we can share knowledge and like make an impact with people. Like, that's my goal. Is like, I don't need the fame. I don't need the money. I don't need like all of those things aren't what brings me joy in all of doing this. Is like, can I help your family be better? Can I help your athlete feel better? Can I help your marriage be better in terms of like how your family functions? All of those things are like impact driven. And I think that's just part of who I've always been and who I always will be. So it's just great when you start meeting people that are also driven by those same things.
That's super awesome. Well, I'm so glad and thankful that you took the time to sit down with everybody listening and watching. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in to this episode of the Wild Uncut podcast, brought to you all by Ruger, Marlin, SCI, and Onyx Hunt, which I'm sure you...
Oh, yeah.
All of the
we
above.
love Onyx and all of them.
So appreciate y'all, and we will see you soon around the bend for the next adventure.
When conditions get tough on a mountain hunt, your gear must be tougher. Making every opportunity count means selecting equipment that will not fail. Any condition, anywhere, Hornady Outfitter ammunition is designed to perform. Available in a wide range of cartridges from .243 to .375 Ruger. When you're looking for a hard-hitting, deep penetrating bullet and cartridge that performs in the most rugged environments, look no further than Hornady Outfitter ammunition. Thank you all for listening to the Wild and Uncut podcast. If you would like to hear more, be sure to not only watch, but subscribe to my Pursue the Wild digital series airing on Carbon TV and YouTube. And while you're at it, follow me at Kristy Titus on Facebook and Instagram.